Ooh! This book is spooky. You're not supposed to have this book. Not supposed to consider anything said in this book. Now this video is made for people who kind of wanted to read a book but don't like to read, but want to be able to say that you've read it. Now you can say that you've read it. I'm helping you lie because I have read it. Although I encourage you to read it because it's really not that long at all. Like 99% of this damn book is like talking about the book itself. The book itself is very short. And most of the things said in it aren't crazy controversial. I mean, it is controversial in the way that if you were a politician and you said these things, the rest of the government would hate you. But most of the things in this book are just normal things that most people would want. So this book was published in 1848. This is an old-ass book, and it's probably one of the most misunderstood books of all time. So I'm gonna break this book down into 5 main ideas. The first idea presented in this book is that all of history is a class struggle. Marx says that if you zoom out and look at practically every moment in history, it is a struggle and a battle between the haves and the have-nots. Ancient times, lords versus serfs. Later on, nobles versus peasants. And in his time when writing this book, the Industrial Revolution created a new version, the bourgeoisie, which are the haves, the factory owners. The capitalists who owned the stuff needed to make the money. And if you have read this book, you probably know the word bourgeoisie has been said in it more than any other book ever written, probably. Then on the other end of the spectrum are the have-nots, or the proletariat. People who don't have all this money and factories and etc., only their time and labor that they can sell. And what's the core conflict here? The owners of the factories and the capitalists here that don't really do damn much of anything make their money by paying the people doing the labor less than what their value is actually worth. You're getting paid less than the value of what you produce. You might be creating something that's 50 bucks, but you get 10 bucks of that and the other 40 goes to the owner. Which leads us to idea number 2, capitalism is inherently exploitative and unstable. Marx argued that this system is not just unfair, but it's unstable. It leads to things like alienation. You're disconnected from your work, the things you create, and even other people. You're just a cog in the machine. It leads to crises. The drive for profit leads to wild cycles of boom and bust. Factories overproduce. People can't afford the goods. Layoffs happen and the whole thing collapses. Over and over and over and over again. And he believed that this would get worse and worse, making people more and more miserable for the majority of people. And eventually people are gonna get tired of that. Idea number 3, inevitable revolution. So what's the end game? Marx believed the working class, the proletariat, would eventually get fed up as they grew in number and became more aware of their shared exploitation. They would rise up in revolution, not to swap one set of rulers for another, but to abolish the whole class system altogether. The idea was for a classless society, which is idea number 4, dictatorship of the proletariat. That is a controversial one, Mr. Marx. Marx said that right after the revolution, you can't just have a perfect society. The workers would need to take control of the state temporarily. Think of this as a reset period. This phase, which he called dictatorship of the proletariat, would be used to seize property, like factories and land, and put it under common ownership. It would also be used to wipe out the old ruling class's power, and it would be used to reorganize society for the benefit of everybody, not just a few. And that brings us to the final idea and step, I suppose, the end goal, communism. The final goal, the ultimate dream, is communism. Close your eyes. Now envision. The state withers away with no classes to suppress. You don't need a government as we know it. There's no money. People contribute what they can and take what they need. Work is for self-fulfillment and the common good, not just for a paycheck. The famous slogan at the end of the book sums it up. Working men of all countries, unite. It was a call for a global movement because the capitalist system they were fighting was global. So, that's the basic blueprint. Now, a massive disclaimer, which I'm going to get a lot of comments about because I know many of you aren't going to actually finish the video and get to me saying this. This was a theory and a prediction from 1948. The actual attempts to build communist states like from Maoist China and the Soviet Union deviated massively from this piece of work and often moved to authoritarian regimes and had parts in mass violence and created states that Marx himself might not have recognized. This book is a brilliant critique for capitalism's flaws, but using it as a definite blueprint for a new society, maybe not so much. The Communist Manifesto is a diagnosis, not necessarily a cure. But yeah, its questions are still powerful today, 177 years later. Who does this economy really work for? Is endless growth on a finite planet sustainable? What would a truly fair and equal country even look like? Understanding this book also isn't necessarily agreeing with it, even if I happen to agree with most of what's said in this book. It's about understanding one of the most influential ideas that shaped the last 150 years of history. Thanks for watching. Now you don't have to read it.